Jamar Chase said, Pat who? About Patrick Mahomes, and Mahomes had a certain response. We'll talk about that. Stefon Diggs maybe having a beef with Josh Allen, and a lot more here on Locked On NFL Podcast. Chris Carter, your boy Q. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On NFL, your daily NFL podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On NFL Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter, here, my friend and co-host, your boy Q from Locked On Raiders. I'm from Locked On Steelers, and we host your Friday episode of the Locked On NFL Podcast, which you can find on all your favorite podcasting apps and on YouTube. Like this video if you enjoy it. Subscribe to this channel to get all of our daily Monday through Friday episodes with all of the hosts who host on the show throughout the week. Also, this show is sponsored by Bird Dogs. Bird Dogs, of course, is a great company to get shorts and other kind of clothes. Go to birddogs.com/lockedonnfl, and they'll throw in a free custom Bird Dogs Yeti-style tumbler with every order. We'll talk more about that later. Q, there was a bit of a talk this week from two of the prominent AFC teams, and it started with Jamar Chase saying, Pat who? When people were asking him who the best player in the NFL is. And he said, oh, it's Joe Burrow. And then he was like, well, what about Patrick Mahomes? And he was like, well, Pat who? And that was kind of the clip there that everyone was talking about. And to that clip, Patrick Mahomes had a very just a kind of a casual response of posting this picture of him on Twitter with both of his rings, including the new rings as the Chiefs got their rings literally this week, celebrating their second Super Bowl win in the Andy Reid era. And like friendly banter, aside, it's kind of just normal. That's normal trash talk. It wasn't like ultra disrespectful because it was also, I think it was just kind of Jamar Chase goofing around, but the Chiefs and Bengals are rivals now. The Bengals knocked the Chiefs out of the playoffs 2 years ago. The Chiefs knocked out the Bengals out of the playoffs last year. But the Bengals haven't won a Super Bowl, and the Chiefs have won 2. Where do you see this standing right now as far as who gets who in this rivalry?
Well, I'm excited by it. I think it's really a good rivalry. I think the NFL really wants it. They want to have the old Manning and Tom Brady type rivalry, and they haven't had it, right? They haven't had that opportunity, but this is the makings of it. I'm not going to say it's there yet, but Patrick Mahomes clearly is the best quarterback in the league. Joe Burrow said he was the best quarterback in the league, and Jamar Chase said Pat who, and Patrick Mahomes fires back after they get their rings, right? That's who. So I think that's great, and the thing about it is the mayor last year in Cincinnati came out talking trash about basically Joe Burrow being Patrick Mahomes' daddy. And so, I mean, there's a lot of chirping going on, but the reality of it is that Kansas City has lived up to the billing. Even when you think that Kansas City is done, when Patrick Mahomes is injured, his ankle, he's never going to be able to play on that. And look, I'm saying that because that wasn't the words that were out there. Those were the words that I said, right? Those are my words. So I know that I can quote myself. And I didn't think that they were going to be able to get it done because of that injury to the quarterback last year. And well, they end up getting it done. Joe Burrow and company have a really good team. They still need to continue to improve that team. They still need to continue to upgrade that offensive line. But I mean, you're looking at two of the best teams in the AFC, and so there's a good chance that they're going to battle for years to come. I really see it as a triangle, man. I look at it as Kansas City, Cincinnati, and then maybe a close third is Buffalo. And I know we'll talk about Buffalo and their trials and tribulations that they may be having going on. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But those right there are the best 3 teams in the AFC, and I think that there's the Chiefs, the Bengals, a gap, and then Buffalo. So this rivalry is really starting to heat up, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
It is going to be a lot of fun. I think it's fun right now. I mean, when these two teams go at it, they're great football games. There's a lot of explosiveness there. And I get sometimes the chirping between teams and things like that. Joe Burrow is certainly one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, but it's kind of tough to talk to the king, when they're fresh off beating you and they're fresh off
of him either, though. You can't be scared of him. I mean, because he's the best quarterback in the league don't mean that he's exempt from trash talk. I mean, look, you got to still go after him, but Joe Burrow did give him his respect and say that Pat,
Joe Burrow was fine about
there's that. Jamar is just saying he's doing his best. That's my quarterback. That's my quarterback.
And I feel that entirely. Like I get that. I kind of look back and I'm like, man, like there's times you don't poke the bear, like and I get that the Bengals, there's no need to go there just now, especially in June or something. But like don't give people bulletin board material. The Steelers had this rookie.
It's June. It's June. Don't worry about bulletin board. It's June. Get out of here,
I guarantee you.
Get out of here. It ain't like before the game.
Okay.
Now when the
Chiefs beat the Bengals,
look, the mayor's different. When the mayor gave all that BS bulletin board material, I was like, dude, sit your ass down and go sign a bill or something, man. Kick rocks with that. That was me on that. But bulletin board material in June, I'm not buying that one.
And I'm all I'm saying is don't poke the bear, because when you poke Patrick Mahomes is one heck of a bear to be poked right now in the NFL. I think back to a time in 2007 when the Patriots were undefeated and they were in the middle of that historic run before they lost the Super Bowl to the Giants. There was a Steelers safety by the name of Anthony Smith who in the locker room just said, like, they had just beaten a really good Bengals team with Chad Ochocinco and Carson Palmer in that group, and they said, you know what, I think we beat one of the best passing offenses in the NFL this year. I think we're going to beat the Patriots next week. And then a reporter said, do you guarantee it? And he was like, no, I don't guarantee it. I mean, that's ridiculous. And he said, oh, so you're scared of the Patriots? And he says, all right, I guarantee that we beat the Patriots. And that became the tagline. And it was like a okay, if you want to go there type of thing. He wasn't thinking, like, we're going to own them. And in that game, Tom Brady went right after that man, and I think his first touchdown threw it right past him, and he ran 20 yards downfield and yelled in his face. And that's when I was like, man, Anthony Smith, you poked the bear. And
poked the bear in the regular season, in the middle of the season. He didn't poke the bear in June.
Listen.
Hey, look, they're in Cancun.
I've seen people hold grudges, man.
Look, mini-camp is over.
But remember the Chiefs when they beat the Bengals this past year, they was holding on to all sorts of stuff that the Bengals have been saying. They brought up stuff that they said last year.
With everything during the season, not June.
I'm saying last year they held on to comments made from the season before. All I'm saying is, don't poke the Chiefs bear, man. They got enough weaponry and things on their side.
Get your poke on, man. Talk trash. I want to like everyone but the mayor is allowed to talk. That's my only rule. Everyone but the mayor could talk trash. And look, Jamar Chase having his quarterbacks back is what
and that's his guy too. They're back. They go back to LSU.
That's how they look, man. That's how his bread's gonna get buttered as well, right? I mean, you can't not back your guy and then think you're gonna get the majority of the looks. But look, I mean, it's good, healthy banter. It's good for the league to have a nice, healthy rivalry. Again, going back to the old Brady Manning, and that's what the NFL wants, and they're getting that. I just hope that Cincinnati continues to hold up their end of the bargain, since they haven't punched through yet, right? They haven't got through yet. At some point, as a guy who covers the Raiders, and the Raiders play the Chiefs twice a year, and they always, every time it's like, it's Chiefs week. Oh man, it's a big rivalry. Not really, because you're on the wrong end of it, right? At some point, to make a rivalry, you've got to get some
win
dubs too, right? And that's as real as I could be. It's not a rivalry when you're getting your backside kicked in all the time. You've got to live up to your end of the bargain. So at some point, Cincinnati, and they have won. That's the good thing. They have won, but they haven't won the big one yet, right? They won, 3 games? They knocked them off 3 times, so they've done that. So they've done that part, but they haven't won in the playoffs. They haven't won when it matters, punching the ticket to the Super Bowl and winning the Super Bowl. So I think it's right there. I think it's right there to be a really good rivalry. And with these two quarterbacks, if Cincinnati can protect Joe Burrow, they'll be in good shape.
Jeez, the Chiefs have beaten the Raiders 15 of the last 17
times. Oh, yeah, but it's not about the Raiders. This is a conversation. I'm just pointing out, Chris. You ain't got to kick me while I'm down, man. I'm just pointing out.
You brought it up. I was just thinking.
I know, but you didn't have to expand on it. Like, I already let that be known. Like, we all know that that's a lopsided conversation. I get it. I'm good with that. I'm okay with that. And you ain't got to go and do the research and be like, well, actually, to break this on down. And the scoring margin has been a difference.
Is Raiders region okay over there?
There is no such thing. It's called Raider Nation, man. Look, kick rocks, man. We're talking about the Chiefs and the Bengals, man. Yeah, you are.
We'll be talking about another one of the AFC contenders, and that's the Buffalo Bills. There was a bit of drama with Stefon Diggs. We'll break down what happened there and what we think is going on behind the scenes with the Buffalo Bills here on the Locked On NFL podcast. We're your host, Chris Carter, and your boy Q. But first, I want to talk to you guys about our great sponsors at Bird Dogs. Bird Dogs, of course, is a great place to go get clothing right now, and they give you these special kind of shorts that are very comfortable to wear and very stylish looking when you put them on too. Bird Dogs make you look good. They use these stretch khaki shorts that are designed to fit slimmer on you through the thigh and through the leg, giving you a truly sculpted look. Bird Dog shorts do the exact same thing that Lululemon does, but they fit way better on you. And when they fit better than regular shorts because they're not made of stiff, restricting cotton. They're made of a cloud knit fabric that Bird Dogs has actually invented that makes them look like khaki, but they stretch so that you get that slimmer fit without having to sacrifice any movement. And Bird Dogs also uses anti-stink sweat wicking fabric that keeps you cool and dry all day long. Go to birddogs.com/lockedonnfl and enter promo code LOCKEDONNFL, all capital letters, all one word. You do that, you get a free Yeti style tumbler with your order. That's birddogs.com/lockedonnfl for a free Yeti style tumbler. You won't want to take your Bird Dogs off. We promise you. Go to birddogs.com/lockedonnfl. We're back here on the Locked On NFL podcast. Chris Carter, your boy Q, breaking things down here on the NFL. Now, let's switch to another AFC team, another prominent AFC team, and that's the Buffalo Bills. It seems like everything kind of quieted down throughout the week, but Stefon Diggs didn't show for the first day of mandatory minicamp, and these things can usually kind of get explained away. Like, they can be talked about and kind of be like, hey, a player didn't come in. Like TJ Watt wasn't at the first day of Steelers minicamp, but Mike Tomlin was like, he was excused. We knew where he was. He's fine. Like, but when Sean McDermott was asked about where Stefon Diggs was, he was like, this isn't that great. And so they said there was an issue that Stefon Diggs did show up for minicamp, and it kind of got quelled there. But this stems from there were rumors that there would be contract disputes or things like that didn't necessarily come about in the offseason. And then also the image of when the Bills were eliminated in the playoffs last year, and you saw Stefon Diggs kind of barking on the sideline in the direction of Josh Allen. And it makes me wonder, Q, is there something else going on here that maybe we're not privy to with the Stefon Diggs situation? Because, I look at the Bills and I'm thinking, like, what does Diggs have to complain about? He's getting paid $14.8 million this year. His contract is humongous. He's signed through 2027, so he's got plenty of time on that. He's got a great quarterback. He's got an offense. He's the top five as far as total value, as far as a year average per year. He makes the fifth most amount of money among NFL wide receivers, which is pretty good numbers. Is there something that we're missing here as far as like what there might be beef here between him and the Bills right now?
Yeah, I mean, there's clearly something going on in the background that, as you mentioned, we don't know what it is. But normally when it's a situation in mandatory minicamp and the guy shows up to camp and then he leaves and then he comes back, whatever, it's usually, as you mentioned, contract situation. But they just signed him last year, so it's not that. They just really came and made a restructure in his contract in March, so they actually gave him more money up front. So it's definitely not that. I do think it goes back to the offensive philosophy. I believe it goes back to that last game we saw them playing in the playoffs when he was very demonstrative on the sideline and very upset with what was going on with Josh Allen. And, I don't know, why there's such an issue between the end of the season and that last playoff game and now, right? And then Sean McDermott, I think, made this whole situation even worse by basically saying, yeah, we're very concerned about him not being here, and then tried to walk it back the next day and say, well, he did everything he was asked to do. So I don't know. It's mixed signals from the head coach. I don't know what Stefon Diggs has going on because he hasn't spoke to anybody. So there's that. I know he put out on, Twitter about people or Instagram people talking and capping and this, that, and the other. And so, I'm not going to try to break down what he meant by that because, again, he hasn't said anything publicly. He hasn't talked to the media. But I definitely believe there's something going on, and I do think there's something going on with the quarterback position in him in that relationship because Josh Allen multiple times has come out and said he's got Stefon Diggs back. Now, I will say Von Miller, good friend of the show, Von Miller, he actually said that it was not a big deal. He was like, this is not a big deal. This is totally overblown. It's nothing to worry about. And then the next day, Stefon Diggs was back in camp. So I tend to believe that Von Miller has a good idea of what's going on. But the one thing that stood out to me the most is the fact that Sean McDermott said, well, we just all needed a break. We thought that it was good for him to get a break. We needed a break. Josh needed a break. How? Mandatory minicamp just started. It's not like you're 3 weeks into training camp, right? I mean, it just started. How do you need a break already? So is there been something brewing in the background this whole time, maybe in the communication lines? You know what I mean? And so I feel like that there's something going on in that triangle between McDermott, Diggs, and also Josh Allen. And look, if you look at the numbers, you look at Josh Allen, we talk about an elite quarterback. Man, he had a lot of turnovers in 2022.
He did.
Right? He had a ton of turnovers, like 17 interceptions, I believe. 17 interceptions and like 7 fumbles. I mean, he's right now, he's that team's best running back. And maybe that's part of the situation. Maybe he wants the Bills to go out and make a move for maybe a Dalvin Cook. Maybe he wants them to go out and make a move for DeAndre Hopkins. Maybe he wants just the roster tweaked a little bit, and they probably said that, hey, we're going to work on this roster to maximize their championship window. And this is just me thinking out loud, so I don't know. And they haven't done that. They haven't addressed it the way he, thought that they were supposed to, or maybe he felt that they had told him they were going to, so he feels a little jobbed. I don't know. But the last thing I'll say about this is we all know he didn't get along well with Kirk Cousins in Minnesota. That's why he's in Buffalo now. Right? I mean, think about that. It's not like Buffalo drafted him. He's in Buffalo because he had an issue at the end of the day with Kirk Cousins. So if there's an issue at the end of the day with Josh Allen, who knows if Stefon Diggs tries to force his way out of town because he's done it before. That's the only thing I do know.
I look at this and I wonder, because I would never put Josh Allen in the same conversation as Kirk Cousins.
No, I wouldn't either, but that's his quarterback.
Right. And the visual of how upset he was at the end of the game and where he was directing his upset feelings at the end of their last playoff loss was at Josh Allen. And as a person who's watched the NFL and studied how things work, organizations protect their franchise quarterbacks. They stand by them. When that quarterback says they want something, they get it for them. Or if that quarterback messes up, there's very few organizations that get in their face and be like, hey, you got to clean this up and this is on you and you got to do this. They kind of treat that delicately because they need those quarterbacks to be the center of their organization. And it makes me wonder, if we talk about those interceptions, Josh Allen threw 14 in the regular season last year. I wonder if part of this is Stefon Diggs doesn't like how maybe he thinks that Josh Allen is being handed too softly by the Bills management in how they work there. Because I mean, and let's face it, Josh Allen, again, one of the best talents in the NFL. He's big, he's fast, he has a cannon of an arm. He's able to make a ton of plays that most people can't. When it comes to watching quarterbacks throughout NFL history, but I wonder if that's what plays into it. Is Stefon Diggs? He can't say it too loud, but he's like, man, like I think that we need to push that guy. We need to change the dynamics of how things work around here. I think that could be what's going on here, because I don't think it's money that's the issue here. And Von Miller, being the veteran that he is, I think he's friend of the show. And friend of the show. He was. I think he's smart to come with the fire extinguisher. Say, hey, this is not a big deal. Relax. And it might not be. That might be the total thing there. But even if it is, it's his job as a veteran on a team that he's trying to win one more Super Bowl with to help put this out. And I think that's why Von Miller, being the smart man that he is, he's trying to make sure that whatever this is, it does not become a thing that leaks into it. Because if they go week one and they lose their game, I don't know who they play in the season opener, but if they lose their game and Stefon Diggs has like 50 yards or something, and this is going to come back up, it's going to carry back over, and then it's going to become a whole narrative. It's going to be a cloud that hangs over this team, and they need to disperse this cloud and get the sunshine and rainbows going back in Buffalo.
Well, I'm glad that it's, June 16th right now, right? Again, going back to June, I'm glad it's right now and they're not in training camp, because if this was a training camp situation, I'd feel like, maybe this is going to carry over to the regular season. And look, it still might, for every reason that you just said. I mean, every time they lose a game, if Diggs doesn't have a big game, everyone might just go back to what's the relationship like, right? It might come back up.
Yeah.
But I feel like at least with it being June 16th, there's an opportunity for everything to get worked out, cleared up, and get ready for the regular season. So that, I guess, if you're looking for the silver lining, if you're looking for the rainbow at the end of this, that they have some time to get this thing cleaned up before the action really matters and training camp's going, and then you're in each other's throats and in each other's face for all those weeks preparing for the regular season. So that's the one silver lining here.
Absolutely. We'll talk more about that as that goes on. Maybe this becomes a non-story, but certainly something to watch as the offseason continues, as is the DeAndre Hopkins watch, which continues. We talked about Dalvin Cook last week when we were on the Friday episode. We'll talk about DeAndre Hopkins and what we see happening there right here in the Locked On NFL podcast. Chris Carter, your boy Q, stick with us. We'll be right back. Back here in the Locked On NFL podcast, Chris Carter, your boy Q, breaking things down. Let's switch to the other conference, and maybe it will be the same conference soon, but DeAndre Hopkins watch. And it continues. We're still looking at the options there as far as where he's going to pick. And Q, I kind of go back to the notion of where he's going to sign somewhere. It might be in any of it won't be with the Bengals because they're not that team, but it might be with a Chiefs roster, or if the Bills wanted to get aggressive, with how they want to spend, it might be with one of these top tier teams that's looking to just get over the top somehow, as far as creating opportunities with signing big name players. The Bills, they'd have to do some maneuvering with their salary cap space, right, to make it happen. But the Chiefs, they're also a team that they would need to make some moves to make it happen. But there's teams out there that I think that if DeAndre Hopkins, if he's looking for a landing spot, he's not looking to be on a Cardinals team that's going to probably be kicking around and trying to figure out how to win again over the next couple seasons. He's looking for a team that's ready to compete right now. And it makes you wonder, what is that best team that doesn't already have a slew of wide receivers that's ready to go?
Well, I'll tell you, he's been in New England for the past couple of days. I don't understand why the Patriots are hosting him for a couple of days and let him get out of town. Yeah. I don't understand that at all, especially when you name their most dangerous wide receiver. They don't have the most dangerous wide receiver, right? I know Juju Smith-Schuster's there. I get that. Tyquan Thornton is former second-round pick. I get that. He's there. He's
none of them on that level.
There's nobody that's scary, right? And look, Mac Jones is not the end-all, be-all when it comes to quarterback, but at least give him a weapon. And so I'm very interested and intrigued by this whole flirtation, DeAndre Hopkins and the Patriots, for multiple reasons. All right, Bill O'Brien is the offensive coordinator. Him and Nuke didn't get along when he was in Houston. He traded him to the Cardinals for a cup of coffee. So there's that, right? And so I don't know if I guess they can put that behind them and just go in and be professionals, whatever. Maybe it's the Bill Belichick effect where it really doesn't matter. Just go out there and make it happen. I think that New England should put the full court press on them and just go get it done. You look at that division. You look at all those weapons. I mean, you talk about the Bills. Obviously, we know about the Jets. It's been well documented. Miami's got a slew of weapons. What does New England have? Right? What does New England have? So, I mean, I think
if that's New England. If I'm D-Hop, why would I want to sign with you?
Well, I think D-Hop, honestly, and I don't know, obviously I have not talked to him. I think that D-Hop is looking for a payday. I think he's looking for the best case scenario when it comes to money. I don't think
over a Super Bowl contender.
He visited with Tennessee, right? I mean, like a visit with Tennessee. What are they winning? But the Nashville Bowl, right? No disrespect to our guy, our guy.
Our man Ty.
Yeah, Ty, man. He's always catching strays on this show, man.
This is 2 weeks in a row that we have shot a stray at Ty.
But he does catch strays every once in a while.
Tyler did it last week.
No, it wasn't last week. I was talking about him. It was like weeks ago. What are you talking about? It wasn't last week, but he always catches strays because he gets fired up, man. He's like fired up, right? Anyway, that's my guy. Didn't he do like a Bird Dogs read and like had no shirt on or something? Like,
I missed that. I got to go back through it.
He had it in the group chat with us the other day, right? And he was like, man, I was trying to show off my Bird Dogs, which is great. That's going over and beyond the Call of Duty for the client, which is what you're supposed to do. Shameless plug right there. That's what you're supposed to do for the client. But I think that he was like, I don't know. Anyway, sorry, Ty. That's my guy. Check him out. Locked On Titans.
You trying to stop? You first you shoot him, then you try to be like, it's okay, man. I'm sorry.
No, I shot him, but then I also gave him a bandage. Right? I'm like, hey, dude, you're bleeding.
What's that gonna do with a bullet wound?
I mean, I don't know. Anyway, I don't know. But I think
this is derailed. But let's get back to the D-Hop talk. I'm going to give you some teams right here that have salary cap space and are competitive. Because, like, I do agree, D-Hop ain't going to sign nowhere for cheap. He wants to get paid right now.
Right. But I don't think the championship is his number one goal because, again, he went to Tennessee and he's in New England.
Okay, that's a good point.
Go visit Buffalo. Go visit Kansas City. Go visit a team that you feel like can win, right? And I don't see those. I don't see the teams that he's at so far. I don't see them as winners.
Well, let's talk about some ones that might be winners that also have
Yeah.
money and a lot in their salary cap space. Everyone's excited. You talk about the AFCs. The Jets have $23 million in cap space. Him and Aaron Rodgers, that's a
They
sell.
have so many weapons already though in New York. They don't need another one, do they?
I feel like that's a good problem to have, right?
That's true. That's true. It's a good problem.
The Lions have $22.9 million open.
Right.
Granted, I'm not so sure. Jared Goff is the pair that you want there, but he would be another big weapon there and could open up their offense more. The Cowboys with $20.4 million there. Dak Prescott, and I mean they have their slew of weapons as well, but D Hop would be a nice exclamation point. And I talked about Dalvin Cook being an option for them. I think D Hop would even be a better option for them because they still got Tony Pollard. They still got that. But to get Dak Prescott, like an ultimate group of weapons, the Cowboys could probably make a case for having the best receiving core in the NFL if they added D Hop. That makes sense there. The Vikings have $17.8 million. They have Justin Jefferson. They just drafted Jordan Addison. Not sure if that would be the move, but maybe it is. The Packers are looking for a wide receiver with $16.5 million, and who knows what's going to happen with Jordan Love there.
That'd be interesting.
That would be interesting, right? To see if D-Hop goes there and kind of replaces what Devontae Adams was for them for years. But I named those teams: the Jets, the Lions, the Cowboys, the Vikings, the Packers. Which one of those teams would make the most sense for D-Hop right now?
Out of those, I kind of like the Lions and the Cowboys. I like those, and the reason it's funny, I like the Lions, even though I'm late to the party on the Lions, right? I still don't believe that they're going to be
both of us are like
going to be a contender. But the thing is, if you add him, then maybe all of a sudden I want to get to the party a little quicker, right? That's kind of why I think about that. Like, well, I mean, if they keep adding weapons and they keep trying to bolster this team, and they went out and made the move for Gibbs, the running back out of Alabama early in the first round, where everyone's like, wait, what? And then you went and addressed the defense early in the first round in the draft as well. I mean, they're trying to put some things together. Like, I don't want to take that from Detroit and act like they're not, but a move for Hopkins would also signify like, hey, we're here to do this. We believe in ourselves and we're going to make a run. And so then I'd get to the party. I'd still be late, but I wouldn't be as fashionably late as I'm going to, right? I plan on getting there, like making that appearance at the end of the party just to say, oh yeah, by the way, I was here, right? But if they make a move for Hopkins, I might actually show up in the middle of the party and be like, hey, let's enjoy this thing for a while, right? Cowboys, for every reason that you said, I think the Cowboys would be good. I think that they took a big step back when they got rid of Amari Cooper, sent him to Cleveland. Thought that was a bad decision. They did that for salary cap purposes, and I say that in air quotes because you can always make it work if you want to. So whatever the case was there, I think that would at least give him a legit another weapon across with CeeDee Lamb. And, of course, being back in the state of Texas, D-Hop is very familiar with Texas.
He certainly is. Was there in Houston for so long. Yep. And that would be interesting. You have CeeDee Lamb and D-Hop as your 1-2 punch. Then Brandon Cooks and Michael Gallup are your third and fourth options.
Right. And Cooks is a deep threat. Yeah, Cooks is a deep threat. And then Gallup is, I like Gallup, but I just think that he's just Gallup, right? I mean, I don't think he's a superstar.
That's why I think, like, this could be the right fit. Is going to the Cowboys here because they are a competitive team. They've been in the playoffs. They just need to get over the hump. And DeAndre Hopkins is a guy who can make huge plays for you. He can turn your offense from a good offense to a great offense. I think
Plus, Chris, if he goes to the Cowboys or has any interest, you know who the ultimate closer is, right?
Jerry. We getting some Jerry Jones here on the show.
Hey, Nuke.
Here we go.
Say, Nuke. This is Jerry Jones. You want to play with Dak?
You're stupid.
Dak Prescott. He's our quarterback. He's your quarterback. Think about this. Nuke Hopkins. Think about that jersey hanging in the star. Think about the fans with Hopkins on their back.
It is so bad how good you're good.
Think about that Johnny Walker blue after we win games and beat them Eagles and them Giants and them Commanders.
I guarantee you this. Jerry Jones does not say Commanders. He still says their old name.
Yeah, you ain't lying. He probably says a lot of things that he win. Yeah.
We can't say these things on the radio.
You're right. We're gonna sell some jerseys, D-Hop. Why they call you D-Hop?
Why they call you T-Hop? Is it? Do you like IHOP, but you didn't want to make it obvious? But in all seriousness, I look at that. The Cowboys, Jerry Jones, he loves to be a big spender. I talked about Dalvin Cook last week when we were looking at it because
Yeah.
I was just like, they got money and Dalvin Cook would be a nice shiny object. But like you said, Tony Pollard's kind of there. They have that guy
Be a nice
investing in running.
punch, though.
And right,
Yeah.
and that is part of that conversation. But if D-Hop is added in and you pay him, they have like what $20-ish million, $23 million in cap space. You pay him what 15 for a season. That's that you still have cap space left over for emergency situations. Again, you bolster. You maybe have the best wide receiver room in the NFL, and you say, "Hey, Dak, we're giving it to you, man." Keys.
Hey, Dak.
Oh, here we go.
We gave you all the weapons you need, Dak. You got the keys to the car. The Lambo is out back. The bus is even bigger out back. It's your choice. Go and drive the car.
You are ridiculous.
I do like that. You sold me on it. I like the Cowboys as a fit. That's a good one. Look, ultimately, when it comes down to DeAndre Hopkins, I really believe it's a money thing. If it's an opportunity to win games and make a deep run in the playoffs, then these other teams that we're talking about would make better options. But I think he's going to go to the highest bidder. That's just me.
Certainly could be. We'll find out as time rolls on, and maybe he'll have a decision by this time next week when we're on the Friday edition of the Locked On NFL podcast. He's your boy Q. I'm Chris Carter. He hosts Locked On Raiders. I host Locked On Steelers, and we're here talking every Friday on the biggest topics of the week in the Locked On NFL podcast. Thanks again, Q. Let people know they can find you, follow you, get more of your work.
Well, everything I do or everything that Q does.
Yeah, that's right. You're Jerry right now.
Fine on Twitter. That old Twitter world, at your boy Q. He said, at your boy Q 254. That's Locked On Raiders, Locked On Bets, and Locked On NFL with that waffle colored homeboy, Chris Carter.
Waffle colored? What? I am a snickerdoodle at best.
Anyway. All right. That snickerdoodle. That's a long word, that snickerdoodle. Chris, where can they get you?
They can find me.
I'm so done.
Oh my god. I love how your camera's readjusting to you.
Camera's
crazy.
Like, turn this
They're
off.
like, stop him, please stop. His camera's moving all over the place. But I'm your host here, Chris Carter, with your boy Q. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Carter Critiques. You can read my work at the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, where I cover all things Pitt athletics. You can also check me out on the Locked On Steelers podcast, just like you check out Q on Locked On Bets and Locked On Raiders every day, Monday through Friday. Your favorite podcasting apps, on YouTube. Checking this out. Like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to this channel to get more Jerry Jones impressions from Q over here, as well as our talk week in and week out. Thanks again to Q. Thanks again to everyone. We'll be back next Friday seeing what's happening. But hey, tune back in on Monday. We're going to have another episode from Kevin Ostreicher breaking things down in the NFL and what happened over the weekend. We'll see you then right here on the Locked On NFL podcast.
Done.